Deconverted Man here. You Can't Scientifically Prove God's Existence by Derek McAllister. All right, cool. Let's check it out.
In the chats here is there's absolutely room for doubt in faith. Doubt in Thomas, she mentions, the Apostle Jesus, good example of that. In the end, his questioning brought him closer to God. I really like this example of Thomas, and I actually...
All right, so, yeah, the doubt means to think something is not. And I think that doubt is a good thing, especially in regards to a faith that cannot be verified in any way, shape, or form. Trusty A Pie in chat. By the way, if you're wondering, hey, where's your beautiful face, Deconverted Man? Yeah, I gotta plug in my webcam, but I'm not feeling it right this moment. I don't know. Maybe I will midstream. Who knows? Never know with me. I don't know. Anyway, all right. If you're feeling doubt, let it go. Just why struggle? If you're struggling with faith, why struggle? It shouldn't be a struggle. Just let it go then. Let go of the faith. If you're doubting, maybe there's reasons to doubt. Maybe you should look into that more. But usually what happens is people start to struggle or feel doubt, and so they look for a confirmation. They go to the confirmation bias. And the reason why people do this, myself included, we all do this, is we're used to our ideas. Now, some of our ideas that we have are good or positive, and some are negative and bad. But we're used to them. So questioning those ideas makes us uncomfortable. Trying to change those ideas takes energy and effort, and so it's easier to stay complacent and to keep the idea. So we'll look for ways to save the idea, even though what's funny about that is sometimes it takes a lot of energy and effort to save the idea rather than to let it go. It's so desperate that we are to keep that idea when we should question it even further and investigate and interrogate that idea to see if it's true or not. And when it comes to faith, many, different believers have different ideas about faith, but I've seen it over and again where people say, no, faith isn't blind faith. There is evidence. No, there isn't evidence, actually. There's bad arguments, which isn't evidence. There are the holy writings, or writings you think are holy at any rate. Those are evidence. Oh, there's prophecies. No, there aren't prophecies. Those aren't evidence either. And they think that they have evidence, but they don't. So it is blind faith. But every now and again, you'll get the rare theist who will say it is just faith. And I think that this guy's kind of hinting at that it's just faith. We'll see about that. But anyways, just wanted to say, yeah, go doubt more. And also, I played Doubting Thomas in a Scientific Atheist video. I have playlists of Scientific Atheist videos that I was very honored to take part in. So check that out.
So if you remember the example of the Apostle Thomas, right? Jesus resurrects, as we're told in Scripture. Christians believe that, of course. It's the foundation of all our salvation.
Yeah, the story. Yeah, you believe in the story.
Paul says in the New Testament, if Jesus didn't really rise, then all of this is in vain. All of our...
Okay, it's all in vain.
Faith is in vain. We're stuck in our sin. We can't be saved, right? But
see, Paul's saying that there is a sin, but there's no sin at all. Sin is also made up.
The defeat of death is the defeat of sin. So he rises from the grave, he resurrects, he appears to all of his disciples, his apostles. But in this account that we're told, apparently all of them, it seemed, were present except for Thomas. He just happened not to be there. And then when they told him this later, he didn't believe them. And he says something like, well, unless I can see Jesus with my own eyes, like I won't believe it till I see it, right? Unless I can touch his hand where the nails were and touch his side where the spear pierced into him and it pierced his heart, then I'm not going to believe. The interesting,
Yeah, the empirical evidence, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now, I've heard Blaster Master's voice. I don't know that I've seen what he looks like. If I have, I can't remember. Maybe not. You know, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have a webcam. I don't know. I don't think he's ever, but I know him to some degree. And so, I mean, I don't need to know what he looks like, you know. Uh, but if I asked him to, he'd probably send me a picture of himself, and maybe it'd be AI or some picture he found on the internet. But I trust him enough to think that he'd send me an actual picture of himself, uh, you know, holding up a peace sign, and sticking his tongue out, winking in a in a cute dress that no, I'm sorry, sorry, all right, anyways, but yeah, he and then I'd see him, right, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's Blaster Master, all right, cool, because he'd give me empirical evidence. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Just set aside my fantasies of what I just pretend I didn't say any of that. Just ignore all that. Anyways, all right. No, seriously though. But God, on the other hand, the almighty, all powerful, all caring, all everywhere God, all the time God, does not give me or you or anyone else on this earth any empirical evidence of itself today. Oh, it did it way back then with Thomas. That's nice. Good for Thomas. If you've read Langston Hughes, or I want to say that's the name. Salvation. Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes wrote this essay called Salvation. Well worth a read if you haven't read it, or a reread if you already have. Powerful essay about him and his failed salvation. And there is a good point there, which is he waited for God. He waited for a thing to happen, and nothing happened. So he just faked it. He went along because what else are you going to do? And I suspect that a lot of people got into religion in the same way. Maybe they didn't buy it or believe it. They were like, this is baloney. But everybody else seemed to, so they went along. They went along with it to get along, to cooperate with everyone else, Somebody I knew from the distant past had told me, oh, no, I didn't really, believe in Christianity. I was just being polite. I was like, oh, wow, I thought he was a Christian, He went to church. Seems like, he was. He just was doing it to get along. So, yeah, that's kind of a tangent. Getting back to the point, God doesn't give us any evidence of itself today. You can ask God, hey, God, talk out loud to me, please. Conversation. I can talk to Blaster Master out loud. He'll talk to me out loud. So that's something, or at least we'll text at each other. But God doesn't do any of that. And why not? I thought God liked me. Anyways.
Thing about this, a week passes. Jesus reappears. Thomas is there. Everybody else is there. It's like their weekly powwow, I guess. They were all there again. And Jesus provides the answers that he had asked for. Now, it's important for a couple things. First of all, you might think that this should be what he does to atheists that say, hey, if God exists, he should just show himself.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference in attitude here as well. I think we should keep in mind.
What?
Thomas was genuinely inquiring, right? He was.
Yes. Okay. Okay. This got it. I really should put on my webcam for this because I want you all to see just how serious I am about this little bit here. Let's see. This might disconnect me from the stream. Who knows? Probably not. Yeah, nothing but professionalism here, people. Look, you know, these are fully planned things. You know, I know what I'm doing. This is all part of the entertainment process. Really, I mean, I'm not just making that up. Right? Start cam. Oh, well, yeah. That's it. Okay, that's it. Is that it? There we go. Oh, yeah. There I am. See? Oh, this shirt says, I'm not procrastinating. I'm doing side quests. All right. Sincerity. Okay? No matter how sincere I am, and only I know how sincere I am, you don't get to tell me how sincere I am. Okay? Let's get that out of the way first and foremost. I am extraordinarily sincere when I ask God for evidence of itself. And if you read my book, Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, you'll read about my deconversion where I was begging God for anything, something. I was crying in the corner in the fetal position with salt, tears of salt, painful tears. They hurt. Begging God, desperate for something. And God gave me nothing. Zero. Zip. So don't you dare tell me I wasn't sincere. Let's get that out of the way. Secondly, the whole reason that you, Derek, are saying this is to create a goalpost that you can move. Those atheists' attitude is just a bad attitude. They're not really sincere when they want evidence. They just want God to put on a trick. They don't really want that. Even if God gave them that, they wouldn't believe. No. Screw that. And I know that's why you're doing this. I have no doubt. Okay? Well, I believe it, I should say. I believe it with little room for doubt. Okay, to modify my own speech. You aren't sincere when you ask for evidence. That's so convenient that you can read my mind, that you know my internal feelings and desires and hopes and dreams. Screw that. Thomas was sincere. Thomas is a made-up character in a story. He appears once and never again. But if you continue with the story of Thomas, and it is just a story, Jesus says in the story, the people are even more blessed that believe without seeing because they don't get evidence. That's why the story is in there. It's a contrivance. It's a plot. It's there to say, hey, everyone, have faith. You get more blessing. That's why the story's in there. The evidence that we atheists, skeptics, agnostics, whatever, ask for God is absolutely 100% sincere, and that we get diddly squat every single time. It means either God doesn't care about us, God doesn't have the power to do anything, or God isn't even there to begin with. So this is just a moving of the goalpost. I know it, you know it, we all know it. All right.
he was genuinely doubtful, of course, but he wished that Jesus were alive. It's not like this sort of smug attitude, like, well, if like an atheist would have this, and I've experienced this anecdotally many, many times, right? When people have this attitude, they say, well, just show me so, like, make him do a miracle like this. You see this even in the Gospels. The religious leaders, they want him to do miracles for them to prove he's the Messiah, as if he's like a little pony and does dances for them. Um, as
Okay, couple of things about this. Who cares? Okay. Wasn't the whole point of doing miracles to prove that he was God in the first place? So they're asking for proof. Just give them proof. Why is that not done? Now, there's a couple of thoughts I have. The story, like I said, it's just a story, but maybe this is kind of left over from whatever actually happened, if anything actually happened at all, where the people were asking for proof, but Jesus just said stuff. Oh yeah, sure, I could do that, but that blah blah blah. As typical charlatan would. I'm not gonna do that. Of course not. Or again, maybe it's just written for contrivancy's sake, that it makes Jesus look clever. Like, yes, of course I could do magic, but I'm not gonna do it for you guys. Ha ha ha! Look how smart I am. It's God. You're God. It's like hey, give us evidence. You're like, okay, here you go. What does it matter to me? I'm God. I don't care. Oh, you're like doing like a trick pony. No, I'm giving you exactly what you want. Then, if you said, well, that doesn't prove anything, okay, that's a different story then, right? But whatever, anyways.
any person wouldn't like that. Jesus doesn't like that. He's not going to respond to that because he's a person. He's not just going to perform for you.
Wah. God, Jesus just is, really, really thin-skinned. Again, going with people I know, Captive Desk. If I asked him, and I've asked him to do many things, over the course of time I've known him, and and I say, hey, read the entire Lobsterist, and he did. It was the best thing ever. Yeah, thank you. So when I say, hey, God, say hi, nothing. So God just doesn't care as much as Captive Desk does. Jesus is just not a good friend.
Like a little puppet just because you ask him to. But he responds to Thomas in kind, graciously revealing that. And I think that's a lesson there too, because Jesus didn't say, well, you know what? Just have faith, Thomas. Like he didn't leave him there. He actually provided the evidence. And I think this is.
Yeah, Jesus did it then, but he won't do it now. So God does change, I guess, even though we're told God never changes.
This is a lesson for us, because it's not wrong to ask for evidence. Like, if you really want to believe.
Now, wait a minute. You just spent all this time saying that, when you asking for evidence, God's not going to give it to you. But now you're saying it's not. Which is it?
Believe in God, then ask for evidence. I mean, you have to be open and responsible and realistic about the kind of evidence.
All right. So this is the open, responsible. I think he meant receptive, but whatever. This is the scam. This is the scam. The number one scam. You have to be open to it. Why? This is what spiritualists, the psychics, they have to be open to it. You have to, that you won't see the ghosts unless you're open to it. Ghosts are really scared of skeptics because skeptics aren't open to it. You mean gullible? That's what that means to me, is gullible. You must be gullible enough. But really, this is shell game. Here's my shells. Where's the little bead? Find it. Well, it wasn't under either one because, I went, threw it into my sleeve, So this is, ask for evidence. And then anything that happens that you think might be evidence, that's what it was. And if you wait long enough, something's going to happen. If you keep asking, eventually something will happen. The Mormons do this with, you'll have this burning in your heart for God, Jehovah, and everyone does this, all the gurus do it, all the spiritualists do it, all the crystal people do it, the tarot card reading people do it. All the scam artists out there do this. That you just ask, but be open. What does me being open have to do with providing any actual evidence? Okay, it's not that hard. Here we go. Here's a bunny. Very. I think it's very cute. I love him. Yeah, it's made by somebody I love. Yay. Anyways, I can lift it very easily. It's not difficult to lift. So God should be able to levitate it out of my hand. But that doesn't happen. Oh, you're asking for God to do a magic trick and God's not going to do that. Why? Because, you can ask for evidence, but not that sort of evidence. That's the wrong way. Don't you know the Bible says the wicked generation will ask for proof and signs. Clever writing. Very clever. Of course, you're wicked if you want evidence. Very, very, very clever writing.
You receive, but like you can't say, well, it's got to be now or something, or it can't be.
Why not? Why can't it be now? When is it going to be? A year? 10 years? 20 years? Why not now? Why can't I say, give me it now? Why? Because it's not a real thing. It's a trick that your brain does to you, because if you're looking for something, you might find it even though you didn't actually find it. Now you might think, that sounds what? We're really good at seeing faces. So if you look for faces, you'll see them. Okay? This is a thing you can do. All right? Might work on you. It might not. If you do it, let me know in the comments below. All right. Wait until nighttime. Late at night, And have a door in your house that you can make that room really dark. Okay? And stand outside that room. Don't look in, and put your arm in the room. And just think about how dark it is in there, and how you can't know what's in there. And maybe somebody's going to grab your hand. And if you do it enough, you might actually start to scare yourself. Like I said, not going to work with everyone. Worth a tiny experiment. It'll only take a few moments. If it's going to work, it's going to work pretty much immediately. But if I said, but just keep trying, just stay there for like a year until it happens, eventually you're going to wear yourself out and be like, and you're going to think something happened, You're going to trick yourself into it, because if you're looking for it to happen, your brain will give it to you, because your brain's like, okay, that's what you want here. But it doesn't make it actually real that somebody's in that room about to grab your hand. Now, of course, it'd be hilarious if your friend or significant other or knew that you were going to do this, hid in the room without you knowing, and grabbed you at the last minute. That would be really funny. And if that happens, I hope you film it, because it would be funny to watch you get scared. But at any rate, my point is, if you look for it and you wait long enough and you hope it's there and you look for it and you keep looking, maybe there, then yeah, something will happen at some point, maybe. But it's not good enough, and I don't buy it. It's not actually evidence. It should be immediate and instantaneous. It shouldn't be that you have to wait. It shouldn't be that you have to like look for little hints or clues. No, humans don't work like this. I want to know that the trusty ape exists. Hey, trusty ape, do you exist? And he's like, yes, I do. Not that hard. But yet, God is like, wish I could say something, but I can't. Oh, I'll let them find their keys. I'll send somebody to say something. Like pineapple orange. Oh my God, that guy said pineapple orange. That must be God. So come on, man.
Be proven scientifically. Well, why not? Why can't it be proven scientifically? In principle, God's existence can't be proven scientifically. I'll just let that cat out of the bag. It's not going to happen. Why? Well, because science investigates the natural world. Science will therefore only get results and understanding and observation of the natural world. God is not natural. He's supernatural.
How do you know? So this is the number one question that it's a question. Whatever. I'm not going to rank questions. How do you know what God is? Okay? Think about this. If you believe in God, how do you know what God even is in the first place? What method did you use to get to those conclusions about what God is? What does that method look like? How does that method function? Right now, we've got somebody called Joey in chat saying that there's a God, or asking atheists what they have for proof or truth or whatever. Joey will not answer this question that I'm asking right now. And I doubt that Derek, if he watches this video, will answer that question either, or if he does, it will be like contrived or weird or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll actually attempt it. How do you know what God is in the first place? New question. What methodology did you use to arrive at that conclusion? Okay? It really shouldn't be hard to answer those questions, but so far, nobody has that I know of. So we'll see.
Natural. He's divine. So if you're using tools, like if you're using the tools of science, like I was talking to my students yesterday, if you're using and expecting to use the tools of science to answer the question as to whether God exists, that's kind of like trying to dig a ditch with a knife instead of a shovel. You're just using the wrong tool. It's just not going to work. You can get somewhat far, but it's not the right tool. It's same thing in morality, for example.
Well, I mean, you would do it eventually. So science could find God eventually. It's just going to take longer because it's the wrong tool? Or is it the wrong, or it can't ever do it? Which is it? I don't know. It's kind of a weird metaphor, but whatever. Also, Derek is in chat. Wow. Thank you for reviewing my video. Oh, you're quite welcome, Derek. Extend to you the invitation I do for anyone and everyone. Email me, deconvertedman1@gmail.com. We'll set up a time and day to talk about your beliefs. Maybe I'll interview you if you want to do that, or just have a back and forth conversation. You know, nice and friendly, you know. But, you know, I got to complain about your video now because, you know, partly entertainment for people and partly because, yeah, I like to complain about stuff. And I'm asking questions and I'm attacking the ideas and not you, the person. So anyways, I'll put my email in chat there just so that, you know, there's no excuse. I'm in Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, just email me a good day and time. Maybe I'll, you know, you want me to interview you? I'm happy to do that. You want to do a talk? We can do that. You know, whatever. Let me know. All right, back to the video now. All right, where were we? Oh, okay.
Like morality is not scientific; it's philosophical. It's in the domain.
Depends. Morality is based upon the ethical system you choose, and using informal logic, I wrote a book called Logic and Morals, where I outline an argument that I think I proved is valid and sound in that book. You'd have to buy that book to find out if I'm right or not. You know, leave a review on Amazon if you do. Come on. But if you include informal logic in the scientific method, then I suppose you could technically say yes, it's science. But at any rate, if you have a goal in mind, goal X is, you know, benefit humanity. Maybe that sounds vague, and so scientifically you iron it out to what that means, and like it's this and this and this. Maybe it takes a long time to say what that is, you know. But regardless, you have that goal. Okay, so then you can use science to say, will doing this thing moreover result in getting that goal than not? So let's say that we want to decrease teen pregnancy. So we do a survey of how different states have gone about this, you know, education systems, etc. So education systems that teach abstinence only and don't provide any contraceptives or condoms, teen pregnancy is way up. And the states that teach about sex and offer contraceptives and condoms, teen pregnancy is way down. So we can draw a tentative conclusion that teaching this way seems to get to this result that we want better than teaching that way. And maybe we can tweak with those teaching methods and see when it gets better and when it gets worse. Now, they did an experiment, I don't remember which countries, but they had a countdown timer on a stoplight. So when you got to the red light, there was like 5, 4, 3, so that you knew when it was going to change back to green. And this seemed to calm down drivers. But as a flip to that story, they put that countdown timer on a green light, telling you how long you've got a green light. But people sped up because they didn't want to get the yellow, and so more accidents happened. So then a reasonable conclusion to draw is countdown timer with red light, less accidents, less frustrated drivers. Countdown timer with green light, more accidents, more frustrated drivers. So could that conclusion be wrong in some way, shape, or form? More testing needed. You know, we do more testing. It seems like, hey, it's working. So yeah, this works. Let's do the thing that works. And in a similar way, to get to the goal that your ethical system provides, you can use scientific methodology to figure out what is the best method to get to that goal. So I would say morals is absolutely something that you could use science on, depending upon your ethical system. Of course, with divine command theory, you could never use any system to decide whether or not that thing is right or wrong. It's what God told you to do or not to do. The end. God said it, you must do it. If you think it's wrong, too bad. God told you to do it. If you think it's right, okay, but God told you to do it, so you do it. God told Abraham, go kill your son. Okay, gonna do it because God told me to do it. And you might think it's wrong, but of course God is good. Well, how do I know God is good? Well, because it said God was good. But he's asking me to do something that I think is evil. It would have been a much more moral message in that story if Abraham was told by God, kill your son. Abraham said, no. God said, you passed my test. That's the right answer. Don't do evil even if God asks you. But it's not that story. The story is about obedience to God, not about doing what is actually right. God tells you what to do, and you do it because, well, God told you. And God is, of course, right because, well, God is good. Not enough quotes in the universe. And so whatever God tells you to do is good, even though you think it might be bad. So in DCT, you can't use science on that one. And might be other ethical systems that you can't use it on either, but for some you could. Anyways, all right, back to the thing.
Domain of, like, so if I say, it's wrong to torture children, just for fun, that's a moral claim. That is that can't be proven scientifically. What would I do? Like, do I measure their pain levels? Still, I wouldn't know if pain is a good thing or a bad thing, morally speaking, because morality is not scientific. It's not empirical in that sense. It can't be proven. So if I'm trying to use the tools of science to discover moral truths, I'm not going to find it. If I'm trying to use the tools of science to discover theological truths as to whether God exists or not, similarly, it's just a bad tool. You can get far, you can get somewhat, but again, because it only examines and observes the natural world, you will only be able to examine and observe the things in the natural world that God has had some effect on.
Oh, that's it. How do you know that there's anything more than the natural world in the first place?
This is what I always get struggling about.
Right.
That seems like an assumption made on your part without any proof or evidence to back that up. How do you know that there's anything beyond that? If we can't test it, measure it, verify it, or confirm it, if we can't use logic upon it, if we can't use science upon it, then what the bleep do we have? Logic is a system that we can utilize to analyze, argumentations given by groups or individuals, whereby we identify logical fallacies, if any. We do some formulas, and we go, okay, there's a logical fallacy. We have to be skeptical of the conclusion. There's a limit to logic. Logic cannot tell us something new about the world, because the limit of logic is kind of an odd thing. It's useful. I love informal logic, but I admit to its limitations. If I said, hey, premise 1, lobsters exist. Premise 2, my light is either on or off. Premise 3, my light is off if lobsters exist. Conclusion, therefore, my light is off. It's kind of a wonky argument. And you're like, hey, there's some fallacies there. But I'm like, well, forget the argument. My light's on. You can tell my light's on. Look. My light's on. I don't need any argument. I have the light, right? But within logic itself, because the argument was flawed, it means we have to be skeptical of the conclusion. Maybe the light is off. Maybe it's on. We don't know, but the logic was flawed. There was multiple fallacies in that syllogism. Point them out for bonus lobster points in the comment section below if you want to. Okay, but at any rate, so if we can't use logic to arrive at God, whatever God is, we can't use science to arrive at God, whatever God is, then how do you know that God is supernatural? How do you know that there is a supernatural? And what's your methodology to determine what supernatural even is in the first place, since it's apparently untestable, unverifiable, and without any logical argumentation? Or if there is one, well, you didn't provide one here in this video, and maybe that wasn't the point of the video, but, I'm still going to complain about it. We don't have any empirical evidence at all. You didn't offer us any. In fact, you said that we can't have it. We're not allowed to ask for it because we're not sincere, even though we are 100% sincere, that we're just asking God to do little pony tricks for us, and he's not going to do that. If you have an open enough mind, your brain will fall out, but, you kick it around a few times, you look for the right things, when you squint your eyes and tilt your head, and you kind of look like this, maybe you'll actually see the God. Which version of what God you'll find, who knows, but you'll find it if you look hard enough for long enough, or you'll eventually die looking for it, It's interesting that you have to look for God, and that God doesn't just say, hi, Like, let's say that corner up there, I could just go, hey, God, because he was like this floating ball of energy or something. That would be kind of cool. And I'd be, hey, how's it going? I could just talk to God whenever I wanted, and it would talk to me, and I would know what God is without any doubt. There'd be no religion because everybody would think that there was a God. I have to put a comma there because there's a caveat to that, in that if humans are like we are now in this world that we have, then there would be a few humans that thought that God was a conspiracy from the government or some crazy nonsense. Because there's humans that believe the earth is flat, and they believe the earth is, 6,000 years young, and the universe is 6,000 years young, and biological evolution is a theory, and it's not true. And there's stupid people like that. And the vaccine was bad, whatever other anti-science, pseudoscience nonsense that people believe in that are out there. Okay? People believe in all sorts of weird crap. And science is a really good tool for us to discover reality, and if we can't test it, we can't measure it, then we can't verify it. Okay, so you don't have any empirical evidence, you don't have any repeatable test. Do you have a valid and sound argument? Because that would be the only other thing I can think of that would be a category. Well, you can't possibly have a sound argument if you're not basing it in reality. So that goes back to the first question of, what methodology did you use to determine what supernatural is in the first place? Or, like I said, what God is in the first place? And I hope he'll answer that question in text or video. Put it as a comment if you're going to put it as a text, Derek. And if you're going to do a video, let me know. I'll check it out. Okay, yes, we can use logic. Okay, let me guess. The Kalam cosmological argument, fails. The argument from objective morals, it's just presuppositional with extra steps, fails. The argument that Jesus rose from the dead, circular, fails. Argument from prophecies, none of them are even prophecies, and many of them have failed, fails. I don't know. What other arguments you got? The tag argument, that one breaks logic completely, fails. Every single argument that I've ever heard or analyzed for God's existence has had one or more logical fallacies. I guarantee you that whatever argument that you're going to offer for God is going to contain those fallacies. And I also guarantee, without a doubt, that the question I've asked, what method did you use to get to know what God is? I just don't think that will be answered. I could be wrong, and I hope that I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I celebrate that because I learned something new. Have you read this book or this book? No, I haven't read those books, and I don't care. Just give me the evidence. I don't have evidence. Give me the test. I don't have a test. Do you have a valid and sound argument? Well, I have an argument. Is it sound? Well, it looks sound to me. It's not, though. Here's the fallacy. Oh, that's not a fallacy because blah, blah, blah. No, it's a fallacy. Done. I don't want an argument. I want evidence. Well, we can't know anything 100% proof. I'm not asking for 100% proof. I'm asking for the same amount of evidence that we have for everything else. The same amount of evidence. Not more or less. I have evidence of everything in this room. I have evidence that you exist. You have evidence that I exist. There's God. Don't see it. Apparently it's there because it's everywhere. I don't feel it. I don't sense it. I can't taste it, can't touch it. None of my senses can verify it. How do I know it's there? I'm going to make a statement. This is God. That is God. Give me your methodology to deduce that that is or is not God. Not an argument. Well, yes, it would need to be a valid and sound argument, but also, more importantly, your method. What method are you going to use to tell me that this is or isn't God? Now, of course, if you're using informal logic, you should know that it's my burden of proof to prove to you that this is God. So when you tell me or anyone else that there is a God, cool, nice story, prove it. And unless and until you do, we must remain skeptical of your conclusions. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, post a thing, blah, 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 blah. Time to put the thing on the thing. Whoa. Wow, what am I typing here? And I need to comb my hair. That's why I didn't want to go on camera. I knew I hadn't combed my hair yet. I didn't feel like combing my hair. You know, I just got up and I saw this video. I was like, I got to do a video. I didn't want to go live, but then I had to go live because I had to complain about the thing. And, oh, this is the part of the video where I go and say, no, my thing. I dropped God. Oh, I dropped God. Oh, yeah.